All right, I had to put the guitar on hold. There's some other pressing issues here. And the pressing issue is, well, it comes back to my very first video when I said I was in the middle of a shop cleanup project. Well, since I started working on the guitar, the shop cleanup project just completely stopped. But now I'm doing other work, and I've got no place to put new things. Things that I bought to make the guitar, pieces that I've cut off of it, just different stuff. I need storage. I've got everything put away that has a home, and I have 2 tables full of just stuff that has no home, and I decided, you know what, I need to take a time out. I need to make a home. I've got an area downstairs that I've got some exposed studs. They're 2x6s, and I've got 2 of them, and then about a foot later I got 2 more, and they're both spaced about 22 inches apart. And from the front of that stud to where something is in the way, water heater, is 24 inches. And I thought, okay, how about I make some drawers that I can fill that area with. I'm not using that area for anything else. It's just wasted space. And I don't want a set of drawers rolling around the shop. I just don't have a floor space for it. So I found a design that some other guys were making for some boxes where they were using a router with a 90-degree chamfer bit. And they were not cutting all the way through. I'll show the picture. I'll show you my design. But they're not cutting all the way through where the chamfer was. They were leaving a little bit left over to where they could just cut the thing out, fold the sides up, put some glue in the chamfer, fold the sides up like a cardboard box, tape them with some masking tape and as the clamp, and just let it dry. I cut one of those out as a test, and it worked okay. But then I realized that I had surfaced my spoil board, but I need to put another spoil board on top of that, and I didn't surface that. And step 1 with the CNC, surface whatever surface that you're using on. Just make sure that you run a bit across it and get it flat. Anyway, so I've done that, and now I've got a piece of wood here that I've clamped down that I'm going to be turning into a drawer. And what I've got going on, let me set this down. I put a fence here just so I could have a consistent spot to put each new board. I've got to cut about 8 of these drawers. And they're going to be 22 inches wide, 24 inches deep. This one is going to be 3.5 inches tall. I'm going to need some that are taller, but I don't know how many of these I need. So I'm going to make several of these 3.5 inch tall drawers. And I've got, you saw, I'll show you well, let me show you this. This one here I haven't put together yet. This is essentially what I'm doing, is I'm putting 1/4 inch grooves in the base plate. This one here was actually screwed up. The bit fell out, and it didn't fall out, but somehow or another I just didn't have it tightened up enough. I really thought I'd been tightening these bits up enough, but not true on this one. Anyway, so I'm going down about 1/8 of an inch, and all of these are 1/4 inch wide, and this is on 1 inch spacing because I don't know. I really don't know what my little compartments. I'm going to put little 1/4 inch MDF across and across, and some things will be 2 inches by 2 inches, and some will be 2 by 3, and some will be 3 by 3. I don't really know what it's going to look like. So I figure, well, for these 3.5 inch tall drawers, 1 inch indexes give me enough flexibility to do whatever I need to do. That's what I'm cutting out here, and hopefully this one will cut out correctly. First thing I've got to do is make sure that the board is flat. Let me show you a problem that I've discovered on my previous work. I love working with plywood, but when you're working with thin stuff, you can be fooled into thinking what you're looking at here is a flat surface, and it's relatively flat on top. I mean, it's plywood, but right here, that's 3/16 of an inch bow. That's not going to work. I need this thing to be completely flat with my spoil board, and it's not a problem with my spoil board, and it's not a problem with anything sitting under the plywood. I've had to clamp it down here, and you'll see why in a second. But what I'm trying to do is make sure that when I start machining this thing, that this thing is completely sucked down flush to the surface. I'm drilling holes in this. Some of the holes are going to be used to clamp the box together when I glue it together. Other holes are just there to tighten this thing down against my spoil board to make sure the surface is flat. So let's run this tool path and see what happens. All right, all my screw holes are in. You might be wondering why I'm putting screws where I'm about to do the CNC work. These screw holes have been placed in between where my grooves are going to be cut. It's still always a little scary when you're doing this because you never know, did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? You run the risk of blowing up a perfectly good bit. And I just bought a replacement for another blown up bit, a 1/4 inch down cut end mill. And that's what I'm going to be doing in just a minute. First, the next thing I've got to do is I've got to run my 1/8 inch bit around the perimeter to cut away any excess stock. I have to do that because if I don't, my 1/4 inch chamfer mill will end up gouging the stock that it's not using because it's cut is only a 1/4 inch. I'm going through a 1/2 inch plywood. So I have to get rid of the stock on the edges. And so let's do that next. All right, the perimeter is all cut out, so now it's time for me to put in my 1/4 inch down cut spiral bit and or end mill. And let me hone it real quick, make sure I got the Z position right. This is the scary one because this is the one that if I got anything wrong here, if I'm off a little bit, that bit's going to plow right into one of those screws. I tried to get brass screws just in case that happened, but they didn't have them over at my local home center, so they're steel. Say a little prayer. Okay, so before I change bits and cut these corners out, I was really conservative this time because the last couple of tests my V-bit went right through my stock, and so I set it kind of high, and I think I want it to go down a little bit more. So I've got a path that I can run that's just the V-bit clean out. Okay, I'm going to run this thing, and I'm only going to run it right here and up to right about here. I want to make sure it's not cutting all the way through it. I only brought it down 0.10 of an inch, but I think that's what I need. So let's find out. That's looking pretty good. Let's run it. Now the only thing I got left to do is to cut those corners out. So let me swap bits. All right, let's cut the corners out. This was actually a challenge because when I was setting my tool path, sometimes it wanted to cut on that side of the line and sometimes it wants to cut on this side of the line. You've got to go to each individual tool path and tell it which side of the line you want it to cut it to. I don't really understand why you have to do that, but you do. All right, all the cutting's done. Now what I need to do is take those screws out, flip this thing over, and I need to put masking tape wherever these grooves are on the other side of the board because it's probably going to want to break apart. And I want to keep those pieces exactly where they're at. This is going to be a trick. I tried to turn pancakes without a spatula. I think my best bet is to let it fall. I'm going to do that. Hopefully I don't hit them screws. Well, okay, I lost one, but that's okay. Because I'm going to show you what I'm about to do. Find my masking tape. But you can see what I'm saying. I'm cut through like almost to the very front. Or the bottom, as it were. You can just barely, you can't see it on camera, but you can just barely see the indentation of that V-groove bit on this side of the wood where it was just about ready to poke through. Let me go get something to protect my spoil board because I'm going to get some glue and I don't want to get glue all over my spoil board. Give me a second. Okay, let's fold this one up. Got a little resistance there. A little bit more here. But for right now, I'm just going to use tape. Okay. It is a perfect match. That's very satisfying right there, I'll tell you. Let's get this other side on. In case you're wondering, tape actually does make a pretty good clamp. Now I realize I did not put glue on these joints over here, and I should have. And I'm going to drizzle some down there when I start clamping this thing up and squeeze it in. This is actually working out pretty good. A lot better than my test. On my test, it worked, but it's not pretty. It's functional. It's still a drawer. It'll still hold parts, but I wouldn't show it off. And I'm not showing it to you. There's just a certain amount, only a certain amount of embarrassment I can take. All right. There it is. Now, I'm gonna pre-drill. These are the holes I use to hold this thing down, so I'm not using these holes, but you won't see them because I've got another piece that goes right here that's going to extend out a little bit farther. My drawer slide rails go here, and this will go in between my studs that are downstairs. And folks, I think I'm pretty pleased with that. Once I make my dividers, I think that's going to be pretty cool. Anyway, I know it's not a guitar, but it had to be done because I can't do any more work until I get this shop organized. I'm not showing it to you. There's just no point. Just suffice it to say that it's not pretty in here. And so this is step one of my remedy. I'll probably be doing some more stuff like this in the upcoming days. And I'll share it with you as I come across it. But I'm going to make about, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, something of these. And I'm going to have some more that are taller because I've got stuff that just won't fit in the drawer. You know, like cans. Like that. Stuff like that. I'm going to have a drawer that's tall enough for me to put things like this that I use all the time. And but I don't want it in a shelf because then you have to reach back behind stuff that's on a shelf, and I'd rather have it in a drawer. All right, thanks for watching. See you soon.